Relax your body now and feel bliss. so God can move through me, clearing out a space so God can speak through me, clearing out a space so God can love through me. I make room, I make room for God, for God. Oh, I make room for God. Oh, I make room for God. 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 Oh, I'm clearing out a space so God can move through me, clearing out a space so God can speak through me, clearing out a space so God can love through me. I make room, I make room for God, for God. Oh, I make room. Na na na, na na na. I'm clearing out a space so God can move through me. I'm clearing out a space so God can speak through me, clearing out a space so God can love through me. Oh, I make room for God, for God. I make room for God so God can speak through me. I make room, I make room for God so God can move through me. I make room for God, make room for God so God can move through me. And it's in my surrender that I found power. Yes, it's in my surrender that I made it stronger. I make room, I make room for God so God can move. Oh Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. I make room for you, I make room for you, room for you. God, you are, oh, you are, you are, you are. God, you are my joy, joy is what you are. God, you are my peace, peace is what you are. God, you are my love, love is what you are. God, you are my joy, joy is what you are. My joy, my peace, my love. My joy, you are. God, you are my love. Oh, love is what you are. God, you are my joy. Joy is what you are. My joy, my peace, my love. My joy, my peace, my love. God, you are my strength. Strength is what you are. God, you are my help. Oh, help is what you are. And God, you are my life. And life is what you are. God, you are my joy. And joy is what you are. You are my joy, my peace, my love. 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 My joy, my peace.
Good morning, Celebration Spiritual Center family.
Hey, hey, hey.
Happy Sunday. It is good to be here with you for another Sunday morning to affirm and know the truth and to celebrate this truth as one family. Let us begin as we always do with prayer. And this morning, our prayer champion, Nick Bullitt, will lead us in prayer.
Good morning, CSC. Let's take this time to close our eyes and ground in the experience of prayer. There is one power, one presence, one energy source that is in, through, and all around everything. It is all things to all things. It is one, and I am one with this one. And each and every person, all beings, are divinely connected and inextricably linked to the one and only source and presence, God. We are all connected. And today we just bring this awareness to mind right here and right now. We bring our consciousness to this day and in this moment. We allow ourselves to be present to this experience. We allow our minds to be focused to the message. We allow our entire being to know the presence of God, the presence of Source, the presence of light today, here and now. We allow our bodies to be washed over with the experience of truth today. We allow our minds to be receptive to all the messages that we are receiving in all of their many forms, knowing that whatever is meant for us to receive, it is already moving and flowing in our experience. It is already moving and flowing in our consciousness. It is already here now. We give thanks for our pastors, we give thanks for the message, and we give thanks for this community and for the ever-flowing continued abundance of CSC. Thank you, God, for this knowing. Thank you, God, for this truth. Thank you for everything that is to come. We are so blessed to be in community today. We are so blessed for the receiving of the message today. Thank you, God. I simply release this prayer back into source, back into cause, where it is already met and received. And together we say, Amen, Ashe, and so it is.
Amen. Ashe, and so it is. Yes, yes. Well, welcome again, everyone. It is so good to be here with you. If this is your first time celebrating with us here at CSC and our weekend service live stream, we are so happy that you're here. Shout yourself out, post in the comments, let us know where you're connecting in from. And we want to stay connected with you. And so you'll see information and a number here on this screen, 347-472-1078. Text the word welcome to that number. You'll receive a prompt response back, and from there you can enter in your information. We'll put you on our mailing list. We send out a weekly email every Friday, which helps you to stay up to date on everything that's happening currently and things that will be happening. Many times, we're going to get into our announcements in a few minutes. Sometimes there are helpful links that you may want, and so it's helpful to have those things in your email. But more importantly, we just want to stay connected to you. We want to know where you're connecting in from, and we want you to know that we love you and we appreciate you. For all of our CSC family, don't hesitate to invite your friends and family. I know we're, connecting virtually, and many times that makes it easier. But by all means, if you haven't already done it, share this on your Facebook wall, or email it, or share it later in the week with someone that you might think wants to hear what it is that we're all about here at CSC. So let's get into the announcements, because there are a few things to remind you of and to cover before we get into meditation. So first, we want you to know that if you have a prayer request, it's very easy to get that prayer request to us and to our prayer champions. You just simply email prayerchampions@celebration.sc.org. This, of course, when we were in person, we would always leave our worries at the door. We believe that one of the most awesome things we can do, and you can do this right now, as we begin service or before service begins, leave your worries at the door. Whatever that thing is that's on your mind and heart, that's stressing you, that's vexing you, that feels like a weight on your shoulder, write it out, let it go. We had a jar that you could put it in. In this case, you can send an email in that same spirit to release that thing that you're holding, to make yourself available to hear, to receive what's being shared during the service, but also to receive as Spirit is in, through, and as you, and is always communicating to, through, and as you. And so as you send that email, please do not send this email in the spirit of wanting us to help you, or thinking that all of us have some magnificent spiritual power that you do not possess. But we send an email, please send it in the spirit that we are holding and knowing the truth with you. Right, and we are seeing you moving through that situation victoriously.
Yes.
Right, I think that's very important. So any and all of us, we can leave our worries at the door by sending that prayer request to prayerchampions@celebrationsc.org.
Yes, yes.
We are also reminding each and every one of you, it is imperative. We are just under a month away from our official election day, but of course voting has already begun. And so we want you to plan your vote. If you have not already registered to vote, there's still time in, I think, every state to register to vote. If you can vote early in your state, that's a very good thing to do. Again, what we're seeing now is that there are actually a record number of people, millions, that have already voted and are already casting their ballots.
That's exciting and empowering.
Yeah, so exciting, so exciting. Also, you can request an absentee ballot. There's still plenty of time to do that. And when you receive that ballot, first, the new information, let me make sure you can see our faces here. First thing is check it. Because we have some things that have been happening here in Brooklyn, not throughout all of New York, and it's being worked on, but the envelopes had the wrong information. And so while it was mailed to say Greg Stamper, but then when I open it, Yolanda Batts' envelope to send it back is what's in my packet, right? So what we're being told is that the Board of Elections, of course, they are aware of it. They're working on it. They're resending correct ballots out to everyone who's already sent incorrect ballots. But it's important, check it first, right? Then once you ensure that all the information is correct, complete it as quickly as possible and get it in the mail.
Absolutely.
Right?
And please remember that you can only vote once.
Yes.
There's been a lot of confusion and conversation around, I'll vote by mail and then I'll go in and vote to make sure. No.
Nope. Nope.
Vote once, whichever you choose. If you want your absentee ballot so you'll have it on hand, and then you decide to go in instead, it's one or the other.
Absolutely, absolutely. And finally, if you choose to vote in person, plan for long lines, get there early, pack a lunch if you need to, or at least bring a snack, a good book, right? Something, download a good audio book onto your phone, because you will have to wait some time on that day. Additionally, we have some resources that I think are beneficial for registering to vote, to check your voter registration, to check the nuances between states, because every state is not exactly the same and the dates aren't the same. So you can go to vote.org or iamavoter.com, whenweallvote.org, which is Michelle Obama's organization. Shout out to Resistance by Design that's supporting We All Vote. That's why I'm rocking the shirt today. BlackVotersMatterFund.org, and Fair Fight, which is Stacey Abrams, her organization, which is working to ensure that voter suppression does not win in this election. But more importantly, vote, vote, vote.
Vote.
Yes, yes. Each week on Wednesday morning, we have what we call the Momentum Prayer Call. This is a time where we come together. I share that day's daily word reading, and one of our prayer champions leads us in prayer. It is a wonderful time of just setting the intention and reframing your week. This is one of those things, we talked about last week, daily spiritual practice not being an option, and how on a day-to-day basis you might not think, oh, I'm making these magnificent leaps and bounds in my life. This is the same way that, one particular week may just feel kind of just basic, right? It may not feel like the most amazing thing happened at 7 a.m. But your consistency in coming to this prayer, your consistency in setting a pathway within your own mind, that every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. I begin with prayer, I begin with truth, I put that flag in the ground, it starts to have beneficial effects over time. And so we encourage you to join us every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, if that time does not work with your schedule, the prayer is recorded. So you see the playback number there. By all means, you can call that playback number at any time, 24/7. The most recent prayer is always available. So just call in, wait on the line, and the most recent prayer will begin to play.
Yes, please take advantage of that opportunity to have that midweek reminder, that espresso shot, as I call it, that burst of truth in the middle of your week that you can take. But always, it is available anytime you need it.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes. A beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. We also, this month, we will resume the God Talk. I'm looking forward to that. So every third Sunday, we have the God Talk. It's your opportunity to ask any question. No question is off limits. And we recognize that we want to learn how to apply new thought, metaphysical principles to our lives. It's wonderful to sing songs and meditate and hear messages. And then we also recognize that there's something specific that we want to apply to our lives. There's some specific question you may have about prayer. There's some specific question that you may have about how to apply the 5-5-5 in your daily spiritual practice. And so we make room for that once a month, every month on the third Sunday. In order to receive the information on how to connect, because we're doing this virtually, it's on Zoom, you will need to be on our mailing list. That information is mailed out. It's in our weekly newsletter on Friday. So if you join our mailing list, then you will get that information. And again, for our first-time guests, if you are just joining us today and you're not on our mailing list, just text the word welcome to 347-472-1078. You'll see that graphic again a little later, so you can grab that information. And of course, PY has a wonderful announcement for us, a reminder for us now of something powerful she has coming up.
Several months ago, some powerful Course in Miracles teachers and myself got together, and we began having a conversation because we realized that the lens of A Course in Miracles was not being applied to issues of social justice. As I like to say, social justice work is spiritual work. And this text, which has guided many of our lives, can be and should be applied to whatever we're seeing in the world. We don't do a spiritual bypass. We look at it through the lens of love and are summoned called to respond in a way that is in alignment with ourselves, our truth, and the Holy Spirit. So if you're a Course in Miracles student or teacher and you'd like to participate in the conversation that began so many months ago, please join us on October 20th. Registration is already open. We'll be sending out a sneak peek, the first session of Love Lens Conversations on Tuesday, actually. So if you want to get that sneak peek and you want to register, please, please, please. Conversations begin on October 20th. They will be every Tuesday from 12:30 to 1:30 for the next 8 weeks. We look forward to you participating and bringing yourselves to this conversation that is long overdue. So please join us.
Yes, it's going to be awesome. They've been putting in a lot of time, loving time and care into this. You can go to the site and you'll see all of the things that they're going to be covering. It is necessary. It is going to be powerful. And so with that, it is time for meditation. And PY will lead us, as she always does, in a powerful way.
Yes, it's a new month, a new opportunity for us to remember the truth, for the truth to fill us, for the truth to sustain us, for the truth to lead us in the ways that we are to go on the planet. Many times as we begin to study New Thought, or as we study New Thought, we start to collect and gather information. But as I like to say, it's just information if you have not applied it, if you've not taken the trip from the head to the heart, if you are not feeling God alive within you, it is only information. And so we take time every Sunday to feel, experience, connect, make room for God. This month, excuse me, we're going to make room for God by affirming that. I make room for God. I make room for love. I make room for truth. I connect to it. I align with it. I allow it to fill me. So let's begin this process of going within and making room for God. Find a comfortable seat. Whether you are seated in a chair, on your sofa, seated upright in your bed, allow your body to know that it is safe and relax into a home that holds you, but into the truth that sustains you. So go ahead and find that comfortable seat. And once you are secure in your surroundings and in your body, go ahead and close your eyes. And as we close our eyes, we signal our internal awareness to become more alive. As we close our eyes, we release our vision from those external things that would block our ability to see each other, love each other, support each other. We close our eyes and give permission for love to be in every cell of our bodies. And as we close our eyes and settle in, we bring our focus to the breath. We align with the breath. We allow the breath. We make room for the breath. And so just notice the breath right where it is, unobstructed by thought or judgment. It is lovingly moving right here and now. Just notice. And just as the gentle breeze tousles the leaves, we allow the breath to be that breeze within us. We make room for it. Now let's take a little bit more conscious control of the breath, making room for more breath in our bodies. Bring your focus to the low belly. And together, inhale into the low belly. Hold it there. And now open the mouth and relax the jaw. Sigh it out, making room, releasing. Again, inhale into the low belly. Hold it there. Filling up. And now releasing. Let's move that breath in and up, expanding now through the rib cage, through the sides, the front, the back of the body, activating the subtle body, the energetic system within. Hold it there. Open the mouth and release. Again, inhale and hold and release. Sending energy in and through and up, and breath rising to the heart. Inhale. Hold it there. Open the mouth and release. Again, inhale in and up, connecting and activating the heart chakra, center of the chest. Hold it there. Open the mouth, relax, and release. Let's take a few rounds of conscious breath here. Full breath, filling up, holding, releasing, making room. A few rounds on your own. Each breath deepens, expands, opens, connects. Each round of breath softens, signals peace and ease. I make room. We all make room for God. Beautiful, everyone. Now let's connect the breath and the energy of life force and send it into our feet. Relax the feet now. Energy that is gathered beneath us connects with us and travels up the shins and the calves. Relax the shins and the calves. As we relax, we make room for more energy to flow across our knees. Relax the knees. Grounded and connected, feeling the pulse of life flowing through us, giving permission for energy to make its way towards our hips. See it in our minds and welcome it in our bodies. Relax the calves, shins, knees, thighs, glutes, and hips. Permission has been granted. An opening is occurring. Energy is moving up our spinal column, activating each chakra. I give permission for each to open in my mind. You give permission for each to open in your mind. Make room as the energy flows out the crown of our head, gathers above us. In your mind's eye, see that energy connecting to those whom you love, connecting to those who need love, summoning a healing on the planet. And now, make room for that energy to flow back down through the crown, across the third eye, lovingly touching the throat, flowing down the arms and out the fingertips. See yourself as an open channel for God. And as that open channel, if the palms need to remain turned up to receive more, do so. If you'd like to turn the palms down to ground even more, feel free. But whatever you choose, remember, with each breath, I make room for God. I make room for God. And as we prepare for our silent time, go ahead and scan the body. Notice anywhere that you're still holding on. Any area that needs to fill and be filled by more love, more God. Remind yourself. Breathe into it. Make room. And as we go into the silence, I will monitor the time. If the mind wanders, it's okay. Lovingly, easily, gently, bring yourself back to this thought. I make room for God. Center in it, relax. Allow. Make room for God. With our eyes still closed, we notice the sensation of peace that we've given ourselves. There may be sounds around us, but we tune into the feeling within us. We tune into the truth of our being, our connection to the one mind, power, and presence that we call God. With our eyes still closed, we sit in gratitude for the time that we gave ourselves, for the permission and the excitement of giving this time to that connection. And that any time during the week that we find ourselves feeling disconnected, uneasy, we take a breath, close our eyes, and affirm, I make room for God now and always. And as we slowly begin to bring ourselves back to this space, this time, this vessel, maybe you take a little deeper breath in, consciously inhaling and exhaling. Maybe you wiggle the fingers and the toes. If the palms are turned down, maybe you rub the thighs, just activating the sensation of connecting to this vessel. The palms are up, turn them down, and gently, maybe rub the knees or the thighs. Maybe draw the shoulders up by the ears, nice and easy and lovingly, easily. Relax them down as the heart continues to remain open, making room. Again, inhaling, drawing the shoulders up by the ears, easily, lovingly, relaxing them down again. One more time. Breathing in, relaxing the shoulders down, and this time drawing the palms together at heart center. Nice and easy bow, chin towards fingertips, creating an opening, a space in the base of the neck and the spine. Pausing, feeling the heart beating and the breath flowing across the fingertips. Gently, lovingly, flutter the eyes open, taking in a point on the floor in front of you. Soft gaze. Inhale, raise the chin, raise the gaze. Namaste.
Yes, yes. Thank you, PY.
You're welcome.
So necessary, so necessary. So we're going to hear from Soul 21 in just a few minutes, but it is a new month. Mm-hmm. A new month means a new message series, and so I want to share with you the description for this month's series. The title of the series is Releasing Us. By all accounts, we are living in one of the most polarizing times in history. Separation, division, and tribalism seem to be built-in features of the 21st century. Further exacerbated and enabled by social media, it seems to be harder and harder for any of us to find common ground or reach a common purpose. In 2019, Academy Award-winning writer Jordan Peele released the movie Us, to much acclaim. Us tells the story of a black family's beach vacation that takes a chaotic turn when they are confronted and terrorized by their doppelgangers called the Tethers. In a podcast interview, Peele explains what the movie is about. This movie's about maybe the monster is you. It's about us. looking at ourselves as individuals and as a group. The protagonist in the movie is the surrogate for the audience. So it felt like at the end of the day, I wasn't doing my core theme any justice if I wasn't revealing that we have been the bad guy in this movie. If the monster is us, what does that mean for our future? Learning to release our addiction to us sets us on the path to we. With a renewed sense of our interconnectedness, we can heal and solve the great challenges of our time. This month, we will heal the roots of separation, release us, and create the space to embrace the beauty of we. And the topic that I'll be speaking from today is Was Blind, But Now I See.
Hey, hey, hey.
So let's hear from Soul 21, and then we'll get into today's message.
And so we're going to sing this song, go down home a little bit, recognizing that we must always keep our mind on spirit.
Yes, yes, yes. Shout out to Soul 21 and the CSC band for giving us that good country, swampy, rootsy goodness. Yes, yes. I know that's always a song that is so loved within the community and within the congregation. And of course, it is an affirmation and a point of truth that we must always remember to keep our mind stayed on spirit. Because when we do that, you can't hate your neighbor with your mind. When we do that, freedom becomes a reality. So in the series description, I referenced the movie Us. And I want to say this at the outset, that this series is not a series about the movie Us, right? We've done, sermons about varying movies, and we've done things about, animated movies and The Matrix and all these sorts of things. This is not about that. And there's some brilliant metaphors and some wonderful things. So, if you were wondering, what do the rabbits signify and why the scissors and all of these different things, I'm not going to talk about any of those things, although they do all have, I believe, metaphysical references. But what this series is inspired by is a sort of inner dialogue and an inner conversation that I was having with myself when I left the theater after seeing the movie. Because I walked away with a question. I walked away with a question of, if the monster is us, if us is the problem, if us creates terror and fear and destruction, then how do we get to we? And as I sat with that question, I received some answers. And I kind of put it aside. I didn't know when this series would happen, but thank God now is the time for this series. And so with that question, how do we get to we first have to understand the problem. Before we can get to we must fully understand the problem. And that reminded me of A Course in Miracles, lesson 779. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved, right? And in the beginning of that lesson, we read this: a problem cannot be solved if you do not know what it is. Even if it is actually solved already, you still have the problem because you cannot recognize that it has been solved. This is the situation of the world. The problem of separation, which is really the only problem, has already been solved. But the solution is not recognized because the problem is not recognized. And on a logical level, we understand that, right? We must first recognize the problem. We must first go to the doctor, receive the diagnosis, so then we can get on to the business of healing. But if we do not have that knowledge of whatever's going on within our bodies or whatever's going on that can and must be healed, right? Without that knowledge, we're blind. Yes, we all understand that. And so our inability to recognize the problem in this life, in this world, specifically in the United States right now, is what has left us all blind. It's left us all blind. And that word blind is an interesting word. It's an ironic word, which we'll talk about later, but it's also a purposeful word. That without knowledge, without recognizing the problem, first, we're blind. And I want us to look at the definition of the word blind. And in Merriam-Webster's, blind, there's a deep definition, deep in the sense that it's long. And I want to go through each aspect of the definition, because all of it really gives us an understanding of what it means to be blind. And then we're going to dig into the irony of not recognizing the problem leaves us blind. So in Merriam-Webster's, we have blind. It's an adjective. And the first definition we get is sightless, right? Which is the part that's the thing that's immediate, right? We know that if someone is blind, we would be saying that on some level they're sightless. The definition says having less than 1/10 of normal vision in the more efficient eye when refractive defects are fully corrected by lenses, right? Of or relating to sightless persons, right? And so this is why we have this idea of being legally blind. That even when you wear glasses, still having less than 1/10 of normal vision, that would classify you as being blind. We go deeper into the next the next layer of the definition: unable or unwilling to discern or judge. The example that's given: blind to a lover's faults. Another definition: unquestioning as in blind loyalty. We go deeper. The third definition, having no regard to rational discrimination, guidance, or restriction, as in a blind choice. Lacking or directing or controlling consciousness, as in blind chance. We go deeper. It says, made or done without sight of certain objects or knowledge of certain facts that could serve for guidance or cause bias, as in a blind taste test or a double blind or a single blind experiment. Here, letter B of the fourth definition, having no knowledge of information that may cause bias during the course of an experiment or test, right? We understand that experiments need to have that level of blindness to not cause bias. Defective, such as lacking a growing point or producing leaves instead of flowers, lacking a complete or legible address, blind male. That's interesting. Difficult to discern, make out, or discover, hidden from sight, covered, as in a blind scene. Having but one opening or outlet, blind sockets. And finally, having no opening for light or passage, like a blind wall. Now, again, I wanted to make sure that we hear, and you can go to Merriam-Webster's, you can go online, or if you have the physical dictionary with you, you can go in and check in these definitions, because the specificity of this word, like I said, it's purposeful in my use of this word, but it's also ironic. I love that what we pull out from this idea of being blind, as I said, that if we're not recognizing the problem, then we can't get to the solution, and so it leaves us blind. And so understanding that, pulling these things out from the definition here, unwilling to discern or judge. When we're blind, that means we're unwilling to discern. Having no regard to rational discrimination or guidance or restriction. Lacking a direction or controlling consciousness. When we're blind, when we're not recognizing the problem so it can be solved, when we're living in this space of blindness, we're lacking direction or a controlling consciousness. Made or done without certain knowledge or facts. This is interesting, right? If we have colorblind policy in government, then that means that certain decisions would be made without knowledge and without facts. I also think it's interesting that in the depths of these definitions, and there's 8 total layers of definitions, and some of them have an A or a B within them. The word lacking is used several times. So this idea of when we're blind, when we are not recognizing the problem so it can be solved, there is something lacking. This is very deep. And so if we understand this, then from the spiritual perspective, blindness is not a spiritual quality. And yet it is the very thing that spiritual people run to all the time. Hello, somebody. Blindness, I'm going to say this several times throughout this sermon, but I need you to hear it again right now. Blindness is not a spiritual quality. And yet it's the very thing that spiritual people run to all the time. That's why I said the use of this word is ironic. Because spiritual people or well-meaning people or so-called nice people like to live in and run to this idea of blindness, color blindness, or not seeing color, and yet that is not a spiritual quality. It's interesting, and shout out to Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta and our dear brother, Reverend David Alexander. We see you, brother. You are an activist and an ally. We appreciate you. And he had an interesting experience this week. Because understanding this truth, he posted something, and I believe this was after the current occupant of the White House refused to denounce and distance himself from white supremacists. And so he wrote something on Facebook about whiteness. And he says that the mental construct, not people, called whiteness is the biggest disease that the world has. Whiteness is a social construct, not a hue, skin tone, or nationality. It is a mental construct based in separation and elitism and ultimately fear. Well, in response to that, Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta received a negative review from someone. And there's a woman who gave the church a negative review and said, David, the minister, Reverend David Alexander, says whiteness is the biggest disease on the planet. Our spirits have no color. Again, Blindness is not a spiritual quality, but yet it's the thing that spiritual people run to all the time. And this is important, right? Because what did I say about blindness? Blindness is an unwillingness to discern or to judge. Blindness is having no regard for rational discrimination, guidance, or restriction. And that idea of rational discrimination, what we're talking about is choosing, right? You could have 2 apples in front of you in a fruit basket, and you rationally discriminate, choosing one over the other. Not that one is better than the other, not that one is supreme over the other, but you rationally, with guidance and with some level of restriction or choice within yourself, choose that. Blindness lacks direction or a controlling consciousness. And this one that gets me every time, made or done without certain knowledge or facts. Blindness means that you don't have all the knowledge and you don't have all the facts. And again, I said lacking is used several times in the definition. And so I believe that blindness then is actually willful ignorance and a gross misunderstanding and misapplication of the famous words of Dr. Martin Luther King. If you were born definitely after that famous speech was given, the I Have a Dream speech, you've heard it in elementary school, you heard it in middle school, you heard it, you heard it, in high school and on and on and on, right? And it's this line right here that's quoted over and over again and misunderstood and misapplied. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And because well-meaning, nice, kind folk wanted to live in this dream and believe that this dream had come to pass, what they did was they stopped before the but. The sentence, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, period. They stopped there. And they said, we live in Dr. King's dream because, as he said, he wants his 4 children not to be judged by the color of their skin. And I'm not judging you by the color of your skin. And I'm colorblind and we're moving towards a colorblind society. They stopped at the idea of not judging by color, but by doing that, they chose blindness. See, that satisfied this idea of colorblindness. But again, if they put the period at skin, and then there's a whole nother thing he says, but by the content of their character. To judge in this sense is not to castigate, to shame, or to ridicule, but to see. See, it's so interesting, and I pray that you all can hear this, and anyone else who needs to hear this, that the ultimate idea and the ultimate opportunity is to see. That he wasn't saying don't judge. He wasn't saying don't, as we have in the definition, rationally discriminate through guidance or restriction. He wasn't saying throw away knowledge and facts. He was saying that now the opposite of blindness, the antonyms are to be observant, observing, to see, seeing, clear-eyed or clear-sighted. So to judge rightly, judge fairly, with clear eyes and with proper discernment. Again, that in the definition, blindness is an unwillingness to discern or to judge, an unwillingness to choose, an unwillingness to see. And so this has got us in this awful place where we think we're honoring what Dr. King said. No, I don't want to be judged by the color of my skin, but please see the content of my character. But please be clear-eyed when you look at me. Please be clear-sighted when you look at me. Judge rightly, judge fairly. And so when we understand this, then we understand the problem of blindness, then we can sing the words that we find in that old hymn, was blind, but now I see. No longer are we willing to live in this place of a lack of discernment. No longer are we willing to be anything but clear-eyed or clear-seeing. And so this is how then we move into the place of recognizing the problem so it can be solved. This is then how we get into this place of then eventually moving to we. Now, there's other things that we have to talk about, and we'll talk about throughout this series and throughout the weeks, throughout this month. But the first thing is we got to heal and clear this idea of blindness, this idea of color blindness. again, I keep going back to this. It hits me. Made or done without certain knowledge or facts. If policy is colorblind, well, that's how we get some of the things we have now and why we have to affirm that women's rights are human rights, right? Because from a colorblind perspective, or in this case, a gender blind perspective, all men can be in the halls of power and create policy blindly without knowledge or facts, and that should be okay for women. But has that worked out? No. This is the problem with blindness. It's a problem of blindness if everyone that's enacting policy and writing policy happen to be wealthy, well-to-do, and don't have to worry about making ends meet and don't even know what it's like to have bill collectors calling them or their lights shut off, or, can't remember those days, to have those people making policy because they're operating from a place of blindness without knowledge or facts. Now, an awareness of that would then make sure that you are then talking to the people that you are actually supposedly representing, right? That you are no longer enacting policy or writing policy or voting for policy based on your own individual self-interests, right? But you want to be observant. Let me go back to those words. You want to be observant, observing. You want to be one that sees, clear-eyed, and clear-sighted. And so then we can make loving choices from that place. I think it's so interesting, and I don't know, if you've ever heard it this way. Martin Luther King didn't say, "Don't judge," in the context of this sentence, where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character, recognizing that anything other than that would be blindness. And somehow this has been misapplied and misunderstood as the dream is colorblindness. No, that ain't never been the dream, and that's not what he said. But it's also interesting because, and I don't know, I won't say I'm almost done, but it's interesting because we can understand it from this perspective, but then also in New Thought, spiritual, metaphysical circles, oneness is the house of blindness. As I said, to be blind or blindness is not a spiritual quality, and yet it's a thing that spiritual, good, nice, well-meaning people run to all the time. They just run into this house of blindness. And in metaphysics, this idea of, we're all one, which is why I'm sure that young lady said spirit has no color, right? Oh, I don't see color, all is well, right? They run into a house of blindness, right? Is oneness a spiritual truth? Absolutely, right? We're all one. That's true in truth. Is it the ultimate truth? I believe so. I mean, it echoes and takes us back to what A Course in Miracles said in Lesson 79. Separation is really the only problem, right? So in as much as we do not understand oneness, and then how separation plays out in this world, that is really the only problem. And the opposite of separation is oneness, is unity, is wholeness. But the spiritual opportunity for us is for each of us to learn to live in and embrace the experience of duality while knowing it is not the capital R reality. And so what happens is running to this house of blindness is not living in and embracing the experience of duality. Spirit has no color, but guess what? You a flesh and blood person running around on this ball called Earth that's spinning around. So yes, spirit has no color. That's true. And there's also this mental construct of whiteness that is rooted in fear and separation, right? The opposite of that would be equality and justice. Taking us back to Martin Luther King, the underlying idea that justice is the correction of everything that is unlike love, right? And so whiteness, that's a name we're using in this moment, as a mental construct rooted in fear and separation, is the opposite of love. Interesting. And so it reminded me of something when I say that we have the spiritual opportunity to learn to live in and embrace the experience of duality while knowing that it's not capital R reality. It reminds me of the spiritual principle of correspondence, right? This is something that we learn through the powerful text, the Kabbalion, right? Now, the principle of correspondence is very simple. It says, as above, so below. As below, so above. As above, so below. As below, so above. And what it is teaching us is that there is symmetry, that there is harmony, that you can understand spiritual principles in the macro as above, as you understand it, but you can also understand spiritual principles here on the micro, because it's the same truth. If it's truth, it must be able to be seen, expressed, and it expresses and is experienced at every level of being, at every experience of being. And so we find this principle as we look at light. Light demonstrates this principle so wonderfully and so beautifully, and I love this about light. We generally experience light from its expression of oneness, right? We experience it in the form of what would be considered white light. It's a singular light, right? Or the light of the sun, right? It's an uninterrupted, unseparated beams that are beaming here into our planet. But the interesting thing is that white light and sunbeams actually contain the entire color spectrum. When light is sent through a prism, the spectrum is revealed, right? You can send light through a crystal or prism. I don't know if this is an old school reference, but if you know what the Dark Side of the Moon Pink Floyd album cover looks like, you've seen that. People wear t-shirts all the time. I don't know if they've ever heard Pink Floyd, but people love that image. There's a singular white light that's going through a prism, a triangle, and on the other side, there's another angular light that comes out, and it's the rainbow. But what it is demonstrating is this principle. A single beam of light, oneness. Once it goes through this prism, then it becomes the color spectrum. All of a sudden, it becomes red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. These are the colors, also I should note, that are visible to the human eye. And so this is the experience and the expression of what oneness and duality or separation in a sense looks like. But at no point are we confused, right? We don't argue with someone that if someone is writing about the truth of the singular light, right? You don't immediately go to, no, this is a bunch of colors. And if someone is talking about the expression of each individual color, which is one with the light, we're not saying, no, you can't talk about blue right now. Blue is not one. Blue is really a part of the oneness. Right? We hold these realities, right? It's so beautiful, when we think about the rainbow. This is why we are able, I don't know if everybody knows this. I'll just share this real quick. Right? A rainbow is not a special occurrence in the sense that we think a rainbow like shows up. Right? Like I sometimes when people post and the way they talk about a rainbow, it's like, oh, this magical moment happened. The rainbow, the colors, that spectrum, it's always there all the time. What happens is when the sun is out and there's rain, the rain acts as the prism or the crystal. And so then all of a sudden we get to see what was always there all the time. We're living in this profound experience of oneness. The red, the orange, the yellow, the green, the blue, the indigo, and the violet are always present at all times. And yet we don't always see them. And so we need something that allows us to see them, right? And so in the case of the rainbow, that's what the rain does, that the light is actually being penetrated or refracted is the proper term, through the water droplets. And then now we get to see the spectrum of light that was always there, right? It's also beautiful. If you didn't know, the ocean is not blue. If somebody asked you, what color is the ocean, you would say blue. Right? The ocean appears to be blue because what's happening is that the light that's absorbed by the ocean, and because of the depth of the ocean, blue is the last spectrum of color that's actually seen. Right? There are experiments that are done. The ocean absorbs red very quickly. So if you had on a red diving suit and got in the water, the deeper and deeper you go, the color of your diving suit would no longer look red because it's being absorbed. right? And so we're experiencing this all the time. And this is, again, what I'm only bringing these things up and using this example of light to understand that, again, if we have the opportunity to live in and embrace the experience of duality while knowing it's not reality, we do that already all the time. It's interesting also, the motto of the United States, e pluribus unum, out of many, one. Now, what we know to be true is that the founding fathers of this country actually had deep knowledge of metaphysics. They were very intentional about so many things that they wrote into the founding documents, right? And so this underlying idea, I don't even think they fully understood where this would take us in terms of understanding this. And it's important that we embrace this here in the United States, out of many, one. The diversity of the United States is unprecedented, right? And it's something that's sort of heralded and touted as the beauty of the United States, but it's also the very thing that can lead, and it seems to be trying to lead to our downfall if we don't come to this greater understanding, right? Out of many, one. In truth, yes, the spectrum, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, indigo, and violet. Yes, yes, and yet we're still one. And that is as above, so below. As below, so above. That is true at every level of society. That is true at every way we look at it. So we have this awesome opportunity to release and move this sense of blindness. Was blind, but now I see. See, choosing not to see skin color would be like ignoring a color in the spectrum. No, I don't see green. I just don't see green. That's what people are saying. When they say I don't see color, it's the equivalent of just ignoring a whole color in the spectrum. Choosing not to see variety in gender fluidity, and sexual identity would just be like saying, I don't see yellow. No, there's no yellow here. Just ignoring an entire spectrum, an entire wavelength, an entire temperature. Because each one of those colors also corresponds to a temperature, warmer and cooler. Choosing not to see and embrace someone who is differently abled would be like canceling the color orange. Like in The Wiz, just, hey, I'm tired of it. No, we don't, ain't no more orange. If we see orange, you're going to be arrested. If we see orange, you're going to be penalized. You're going to be fined. We just cancel orange. But this is what we're doing in this place of blindness. Choosing not to see and embrace someone who speaks a different language or follows a different religious path than you would be like saying, I don't see blue, I don't see red. There's only one light. There's only one light. There's only oneness. I don't see blue, I don't see red. And I'm not making fun of anyone, but I hope that by making light of it in this way, that we can see the problem of blindness. That we can see that blindness is not and cannot be a spiritual faculty. Because when we think about the color spectrum, and everyone has a favorite color or colors. For me, is blue and purple, right? And that's like a certain end of the spectrum. Those are my colors. But I love red, I love orange, I love to wear all colors. And imagine if we did not have all of these palettes, all of these colors. I mean, colors relate to feelings even, right? And emotions, right? That blue can signifies, cooler tones or sometimes sadness, right? Red can be about passion and aliveness and joy and yellow and all, right? We need all of these colors, right? Green signifies something about life and about the earth for us. We would never remove any of those colors because we understand how important they are to our expression of life. We understand how important they are to our experience of life. And yet at the same time, the truth is they are just individualized expressions of one beam of light. That's true. That's always true. That's always been true. Was blind, but now I see. And so I invite each and every one of you to take some time this week in this context to think about it, because it's easy to, talk about somebody out there being blind. It's easy to talk about some spiritual folk over here. And God knows there's enough folk here. I mean, within New Thought, we could go on and on, just talking about the experiences. I was thinking this morning about Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman, right, who is a pioneer and a legend within New Thought. And the Unity Church, this church who had this underlying absolute truth, ultimate truth of oneness and understood it, practiced segregation. This powerful woman was relegated to living in the barn while she studied at Unity, right? And until her fellow students and folks got together and were like, no, this is unacceptable. This is not good, right? That's what happened. And this is why allies are always so important and activists are so important. This is what happened ultimately to change that experience. Right. But even throughout the years, unfortunately, she still had to leave Unity in order to found her own organization because of so many of the problems. Reverend Michael Beckwith, my mentor and colleague and teacher, who would reject Michael Beckwith? Like, everybody loves Michael Beckwith, right? But literally because he was Black. Right? A congregation did not want him to become their minister. That seems absurd. It seems crazy, particularly when we're talking about a consciousness that supposedly embraces this underlying idea of oneness. But what they were doing was living in their house of blindness. They were living in their house of blindness and ignorance. So there's a recognition that if it's possible for a group of people, this spiritual movement that we're a part of, the spiritual philosophy that we embrace, to not see themselves, and that means it's possible for us too, right? As a male and a male body, I have to be aware of that, right? Blindness is real, right? Because I walk through this world with a certain perspective and a certain lens, right? And it can be very easy to be blind to the experience of my sisters, brothers, and fellow humans, right? As even a citizen of the United States of America, right? There's all kinds of experiences happening around the planet, right? We have this US-centric point of view as though all of the worst things in the world or even the best things in the world only happen here. Take an assessment of where you may have been blind or where you may be practicing blindness. If you're an able-bodied person, how and where are you blind to the experience and the needs of our sisters, brothers, and fellow humans who are differently abled, right? There's so many places that we can look at. Yes, oneness is the truth, and separation is the only problem that must be solved, but blindness is not what's going to get us to we. I know you want to get to we. I know you like the idea of oneness and what we means and, oh, we're all one and kumbaya. Yeah, it's good, but it's not, this blindness is not going to get you there. Because blindness is not a spiritual faculty. I once was blind, but now I see. With that, I invite everybody to take a deep, deep breath in, and we exhale. We breathe in, and we breathe out. There is only one mind, only one power, only one presence, only one creative cause, only one divine intelligence, only one joy, only one love, only one peace, only one good, and it is operating in all, through all, and as all. This one power, presence, and peace is right here, right now, for it neither comes nor goes. It is in the sound of my voice. It is in the breath that I breathe. It is closer than my breath and closer than my hand. It is in you, my sister. It is in you, my brother. It is in you, each person that is listening within the sound of my voice. We are one with it and one of it. And this power and this presence is dependable. It is as dependable as the breath that we breathe. And as I recognize this truth that it is, as I recognize this truth that we are one with it and one of it, and as out of this recognition, then I am grateful for the individualized expressions. I am grateful for the ultimate truth and there is no separation. I am grateful for the ultimate truth that we are one and there is only oneness. And I am in love with the experiences and the expressions of the one. For I recognize that the one chooses to express itself in many colors. I recognize that the one chooses to express itself in many sizes. I recognize that the oneness chooses to express itself in many planets and many moons. I recognize that the oneness chooses to express itself as many stars. I recognize that the oneness chooses to express itself as individual blades of grass. I recognize that the oneness chooses to express itself as individual grains of sand. I recognize that the oneness chooses to express itself not just as one flower or one type of flowers, but infinite numbers of flowers. I recognize that the oneness chooses to express itself in multiplicity. And as I honor the multiplicity, as I honor the tapestry, as I honor the many colors, as I honor the many expressions, as I honor the many ways that it shows up, I am honoring the oneness. I am loving the oneness. I am acknowledging the oneness. I am acknowledging that this one thing is so magnificent and so powerful and so pervasive that it expresses in everything, as everything, at all times. I am so grateful and thankful for eyes that see now. I am so grateful and thankful for clear eyes, for observant eyes. I am grateful and thankful for discerning eyes. I am grateful and thankful for eyes that take in knowledge and take in facts so that I can make choices that are loving, so that I can make choices that are affirming, so that I can make choices that are beneficial, so that I can make choices that are constructive. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, for the oneness and the expression of the oneness. I recognize what ultimate reality is, and I recognize how reality expresses. So it is with joy and thanksgiving that we forgive ourselves and set ourselves free for the choices that we made from our house of blindness. But we embody the words of this hymn, was blind, but now I see. And from this place of seeing, we will lead on this planet. From this place of seeing, we will love on this planet. From this place of seeing, we will heal. From this place of seeing, we will move from us to we. So with joy and thanksgiving, we release this prayer, knowing that all is absolutely well. And together we say, Amen, Ashe, and so it is. And so it is. So it is. So it is. Yes, yes, yes.
Powerful, powerful, powerful. This series is exactly at the right time. So let us not be in our rush to get to we, that we forget the me that's not operating and seeing correctly.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So powerful. Thank you,
Yes,
Pastor Greg.
absolutely.
Thank you.
And I want to encourage you again, as in this idea of assessing our own blindness. This is why what PY and her sisters, Freedom and Corinne and Emily, are doing is so very important, because they're going to dig deeper into this idea from the perspective of A Course in Miracles, this idea of I don't see color, and this problem of I don't see color.
Right.
And so I highly encourage you, go to our website, celebrationsc.org/register, or just scroll down to the events section. You want to register. You want to be a part of this, because we're just in some ways scratching the surface, and week to week there's a lot to handle in terms of the sermon series, but we can go much deeper, and they're going to take you much deeper in that series. So I think it's incredibly important, and so aligned, of course, with what's happening. What's happening. Yes, yes.
And I love just hearing you say today, looking at our mentors and those who have come before us, what they had to contend with, and how they held the truth of those teachings that they believed in, and at the same time as they experienced the separation.
Right.
They held the truth, but they also brought us to the realization that we got to look deeper into these things that we say we believe. If it is true, it will always be true. I cannot circumvent in my blindness the truth. I cannot. A Course in Miracles says, trust not your intentions. They are not enough.
Yeah.
I have to align myself with the truth of what is being said, and I have to practice the truth.
Yes, absolutely.
I have to practice it. And so this series is powerful. What we're going to be talking about for us Course in Miracles students and teachers is powerful. We got to be able to bring the truth. We got to bring love to it and look at it, whatever we say we believe, and not hide behind some ultimate reality that we're not even experiencing yet.
Hiding in the house of blindness.
Hiding in the house of blindness. We're not going to do that. It also reminds me, when a person is colorblind, there's been these new glasses developed, new lenses. And when they put those lenses on, those glasses on, and they get to see color for the first time, they always cry in gratitude for just being able to finally see.
Yeah, that's powerful.
That's what we're doing. That's what we're talking about. We're going to put on a new set of lenses. And be able to recognize the diversity, move beyond our color blindness, move beyond our separation, and be able to see for the first time.
Yes.
I was blind, but now I see.
Yes, yes.
Woo!
So in this moment, it is time for giving. And so you should see the information here on your screen. You can go to our website, celebrationsc.org/give, or just scroll to the giving section. If you want to text to give, the number is 347-744-9500. But what's most important is that you give what feels good. Decide, determine, choose with knowledge and facts, not from blindness, what your joy number is, and give joyfully, give with intention, and give from an absolute knowingness that there is an abundance behind all that we have, all that we receive. There's an abundance behind it, and that is what replenishes it. It is not your place of employment. It is not your individual streams of income, but all of those are expressions of the one, just like the spectrum, the color spectrum. And so when we give from that place, and when we live from that place, and choose to live from that place, then we can affirm this powerful truth. All the money that I use, returns to me multiplied. In a never-ending cycle. Of increase. And enjoyment. So with that, we wish you a very happy Sunday.
Yes.
Enjoy the remainder of your day and the remainder of your week. We look forward to being with many of you on Wednesday morning for prayer. Don't forget to sign up for the Love Lens and to be there with PY and her miracle sisters. And otherwise, we just look forward to seeing you again here next Sunday as we continue this series, which is, I believe, right on time and always divinely inspired, because we must release us. Releasing us has nothing to do with who we vote for.
Yes,
so it's incredibly important that we move there, because it's the only way that we are going to come together to heal our planet, to do what's necessary around climate change, to do what's necessary around uprooting systemic racism, and on and on and on. So we love y'all.
Yes.
And we look forward to seeing you again real soon. All right? Bye for now.
Bye for now.